और आइए अब आपको सीधे लिए चलते हैं जयपुर लिटरेचर फेस्टिवल 2023 में राजीव शुक्ला सेशन कर रहे हैं।
पहले मैं अपने माध्यम में बॉम्बे का मिट्टी लगाना चाहती हूँ। मैं उधर कभी गई नहीं है। इसके नाना के साथ शादी करके आई कम इन 1946 or so. After that, never went to India. So I want to touch the soil of Bombay before that. So I was really moved. So when I came, I spoke to Taimur's mother. She said she's my mother. She had come 46. She had fallen in love. She's from famous Choksi family, freedom fighter family from Bombay. And then, she had come here, and after that, she got married to my father. She came to Peshawar. After that, she could never go. So I don't know where from I should arrange this thing, the soil of Bombay. So Sunil Sethi was with me. He had also come to watch that match. So I had taken Sunil Sethi with me to Taimur's house. So I spoke to him. She said, I can do one thing. I can gift her Indian flag because he was carrying Indian flag to be shown in the stadium. So he gifted her that flag. After 10 years, Taimur told me, what's happening in my house? Whenever there is a match between India and Pakistan, Nani is always on wheelchair and holding Indian flag, and rest of the family is supporting Pakistan, she is supporting India. So that kind of feeling was there even after 68 years.
But it's actually quite complicated to feel allegiance to the land you live in but still hold dear the land you left behind. There is no easy story of partition.
Yeah, definitely. And one more thing which I would like to add here. She wouldn't have uttered a single word of Marathi. But when Sunil Sethi told her that I also live in same area, Malabar, you also used to live in Malabar, she started talking to him with fluent Marathi. And she was so thrilled, listening Marathi. So that kind of feeling is there. But, I think the generation must know about this tragedy. Official figure suggests that 1.2 million people had been assassinated and 4 million people had been displaced. And unofficial figure, they say 2 million people had been killed. So it was the biggest genocide of the world. So I think people should know about it. So, it should not happen again. That's the message. This kind of gory incident, this kind of thing should not be repeated. So generations after generations should learn this thing from partition. That's why we are giving all these things.
Pradeep, I want to speak to you about how there's actually no one way to tell a partition story. We, unfortunately, over the last 75 years, we've become very complacent in thinking about partition as a story of pure violence. And that's a singular lens. When we think of partition, we think of the trains, we think of the bodies. But partition is a very complex landscape, and violence is one part of that landscape. The one thing Nanak Singh does in his novels Khuni Vaisakhi or Khun De Soile is encourage us to think of other ways to look at partition. So I was wondering whether you could speak to the notion of hope that is in the book and how it is a very uncommon way to remember partition.
Yeah, there is hope and there is a healing. And I think what my grandfather saw himself as a social reformer through his novels. His role model was Munshi Premchand, whose books he had written when he was read when he was in jail in Lahore. And he thought this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to try and change society through his books. And so whether it is the plot that he writes, whether it's the characters that he brings forth, there's an underlying subliminal message for the readers of what you should be or you shouldn't be. In some of his books, he uses characters like a religious figure from a Gurdwara, a Granthi, who's actually the evil guy. And he's trying to tell you, beware of these religious charlatans. In this book, because this book is set in Potohar, and it talks about all of the violence that was inflicted on the Hindu and Sikh communities and their forced exodus. And yet, when you read the book, one of the standout characters is a Muslim landlord, Chaudhry Fazl Karim, who's so dedicated. First they say, don't go anywhere. We will save you with our lives. The bombs will have to kill us first before anyone can touch you. And yet when they see that the mobs are becoming larger and larger and even they would be defenseless, then they keep urging these families that please leave, you're not safe here. And finally,